Good morning once again, everyone. Welcome to Principles of Marketing, and we are now at our third week. And our topic for this week is consumer behavior, business buying behavior. So, for this week, we will describe the factors that influence consumers' buying behavior. We will also understand the stages of buying behavior and discuss how business to business or B2B differs from business to consumers or B2C markets. We will also explain what is buying center and the members and their goals. So, the first one is the consumer behavior or the business buying behavior. So we all know that we've been a consumer, and as a consumer, we have purchasing power for much longer than we probably realize. So let's discuss consumer behavior. So, since the first time you were asked which cereal or toy you wanted since you were a child, we have the purchasing power. Over the years, we've developed rules of thumb or mental shortcuts providing a systematic way to choose among alternatives. Even if we aren't aware of it, other consumers follow a similar process, but different people, no matter how small they are, make different purchasing decisions. So, as a consumer, there are factors that influence our behavior and many more. So, as consumer behavior is influenced by so many things, including environmental and marketing factors, the situation, personal and psychological factors, family, and culture. Businesses try to figure out trends so they can reach the people most likely to buy their products in the most cost effective way possible. Businesses often try to influence a consumer's behavior with the things they can control, such as the layout of the store, music, grouping, and availability of products, pricing, and advertising. Our first factor that influence consumer behavior we have here is situational factors. So, marketing professionals take physical factors such as stores design and layout into account when they are designing their facilities. Also, presumably, the longer you wander around a facility, the more you will spend. So, it situational factors include the store location and the look of the store, the design of the store. Physical factors that firms can control, such as the layout of store, music played at stores, the lighting, and even the smells you experience are called atmospherics. Not all physical factors are under a company's control, however. So you the longer you are in the store, the more time or the more possibility that you will spend more on their products or survey says. So example, rainy weather can be a boon to umbrella manufacturers while a problem to beach resort owners. So it will be an advantage to umbrella manufacturers, while for the beach resort owners, it is a disadvantage because it is rainy. Also, another example that we have is Starbucks. Starbucks has done a good job in terms of locating its stores. It has the process down to a science. You can scarcely drive a few miles down the road without passing by a Starbucks. Another situational factor is crowding. So, have you ever left a store and not purchased anything because it was just too crowded? So, some studies also have shown that consumers feel better about retailers who attempt to prevent overcrowding in their stores. Mainly, a consumer goes to a store because of a store's design that we have in the picture. So, it's very Instagrammable, and also here from Tiffany and Co. So it's very materialized, and it cut down its design as well. So we have another factor that influence consumer behavior, which is the social situation. The social situation you're in can significantly affect your purchase behavior. Why? Because um, perhaps there was an incident wherein your relative had sold some snacks outside grocery stores and other to other retail establishments, and you purchase nothing from them. But what if your distant family relative is selling those snacks? So of course it's up to you if whether you will turn her down or be the family relative that you are to that relative. Likewise, if you have turned down that particular snack because you are worried about what your relative you were might have thought your consumption was affected by your social situation. So some factors are time, reason for purchase, and mood. For time, time of day, time of the year, how much time consumer feel like they have to shop affect what they buy. Researchers have even discovered whether someone is a morning person or evening person affects shopping patterns. So usually when you go to the grocery, it usually takes place in the morning because you wanted the items to be fresh. So this is a social situation which involves time. For the reason for purchase, the reason you are shopping also affects the amount of time you will spend shopping. Mainly, some questions being asked is, are you making an emergency shopping? So you cut yourself and you're bleeding badly and you're probably not going to shop around much, find and to best the clinic. So what that is one of the reason for shopping. You will also go to the one that's closest to you. The same thing that happened if you need something immediately. So, for example, you've seen a department store that has a 70% off sale on all items. So, that is one of your reasons why you wanted to go to that particular store and purchase their items. Also, another factor is mood. So, a sour mood can spoil a consumer's desire to shop. Or have you ever felt like going on a shopping spree? So, at other times, wild horses couldn't drag you to a mall, but people's mood temporarily affect their spending patterns. Some people also enjoy shopping and it's entertaining for them. We can't blame them. At the extreme, are compulsive spenders who get a temporary high from spending. Next factors that next factor that influence consumer behavior is personal factors. So for personal factors, we have personality and self-concept. We have gender, age, stage of life, and also the lifestyle. For personality and self-concept, personality describes a person's disposition. It helps show why people are different and encompasses a person's unique traits. The big five personality traits that psychologists discuss includes openness or how open you are to new experiences. Two, con- conscientiousness or how diligent you are. Three, extroversion or how outgoing or shy you are. Four, agreeableness, or how easy you are to get along with. And five, neuroticism, or how prone you are to negative mental states. So this is personality and self-concept factors, and it influence your consumer behavior. We also have gender, age, stage of life. For this one, while demographic variables such as income, education, and marital status are important, we will look at gender, age, and stage of life and how they influence purchase decisions. Men and women need and buy different products. We all know that. They also shop differently and, in general, have different attitudes about shopping. You know the old stereotypes. Men see what they want and buy it. But women, as a woman, me, based on my own experience with, I try everything and shop till they drop. So there's some truth to these stereotypes. Also, another factor is lifestyle. Psychographics combines the lifestyle traits of consumers and their personality styles with an analysis of their attitudes, activities, and values to determine groups of consumers with similar characteristics. One of the most widely used systems to classify people based on psychographics is the VALS. VALS, VALS, meaning values, attitudes, and lifestyles framework. Using VALS framework or VALS to combine psychographics with demographic information such as marital status, is the person married, single, or in a relationship, also education level and income provide a better understanding of consumers. So another element that we have or factor that we have that influences the consumer behavior is the psychological factor. For this one, we have motivation. So for motivation, it is the inward drive we have to get what we need. In the mid 1900s, stated by Abraham Maslow, he is an American psychologist. He developed the hierarchy of needs or the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow theorized that people have to fulfill their basic needs. So what are these basic needs? It is the food, water, and sleep. And before they can begin fulfilling higher needs, the need for food is recurring. Other needs, such as shelter, clothing, and safety, tend to be enduring. Yet still, other needs arise at different points in time in a person's life. For example, during grade school and high school, your social needs probably rose to the forefront. You wanted to have friends and get a date. Perhaps this prompted you to buy certain types of clothing or electronic devices as well. And then after high school, you began thinking about how people would view you in your station in life. So you decided to pay for college and get a professional degree, thereby fulfilling your need for esteem or what we call self esteem. If you're lucky, at some point you realize Maslow's state of self actualization too. This is the highest point of the hierarchy of needs. You will believe you have become the person in life that you feel you were meant to be. So this is one factor that influence consumer behavior, and it is motivation. Also, we have learning. Learning refers to the process by which consumers change their behavior after they gain information or experience. Typically, it is the reason you don't buy a bad product twice. So, have you ever experienced that you bought a product and you are very disappointed with it, and the next time you saw the product, or the next time that someone will purchase the product, you will warn them that it is a very bad product. So learning doesn't just affect what you buy, it affects how you shop as well. People with limited experience about a product or brand generally seek out more information than people who have used a product better. Next, we have attitude, and attitude are mental positions or emotional feelings, favorable or unfavorable evaluations, and also action tendencies people have about products, services, companies, ideas, issues, or institutions. Attitudes tend to be enduring, and because they are based on people's values and beliefs, they are hard to change. Companies want people to have positive feelings about their offerings. And last, we have perception, and perception is how you interpret the world around you and make sense of it in your brain. You do so via stimuli that affect your different senses, such as sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. So typically, how you combine the senses also make a difference. For example, in one study, our consumers were blindfolded and asked to drink a new brand of clear beer or a clear drink. Most of them said that the product tasted like regular beer. However, when the blindfolds came off and they drank the beer, many of them described it as watery tasting. So these are some factors that affect the consumer behavior. We have psychological factors such as motivation, perception, learning, and attitude. Another factor that influence consumer behavior is societal factors. And These societal factors are situational factors, personal factors, and psychological factors that influence what you buy, but only on a temporary basis. Societal factors are a bit different, take note. They are more outward and have broad influences on your beliefs and the way you do things. They depend on the world around you and how it works. For this one, societal factors include culture. So, culture refers to the shared beliefs, customs, behaviors, and attitudes that characterize a society. Culture is a handed down way of life and is often considered the broadest influence on a consumer's behavior. Your culture prescribes the way in which you should live and has a huge effect on the things you purchase. We also have subcultures, and for subculture, it is a group of people within a culture who are different from the dominant culture, but have something in common as well with one another, such as common interests, vocations or jobs, religions, ethnic backgrounds, and geographic location. Another societal factor is family. So most market researchers consider a person's family to be one of the most important influences on their buying behavior. Why? Like it or not, you are more like your parents than you think. And at least in terms of your consumption patterns. So many of these things you buy and don't buy are a result of what your parents bought when you were growing up. Products such as the brand of soap, toothpaste your parents brought and used, and even the brand of politics they lean toward, Democratic or Republican, are examples of the products you may favor as an adult. So, like it or not, these societal factors, which is family, is one of your consumption pattern. Also, we have reference groups and opinion leaders. For reference groups, these are groups such as social groups, work groups, family or close friends, and are groups a consumer identifies with and may want to join. They influence consumers' attitudes and behavior. If you have ever dreamed of being a professional player of basketball or of another sport, you have an aspirational reference group. Also, opinion leaders are people with expertise in certain areas. Consumers respect these people and often ask their opinions before they buy goods and services. So, usually, these consumers rely on their reference groups and opinion leaders for their buying decision. And last, we have is social class. For social class, it is a group of people who have the same social, economic, or educational status in society. While income helps define social class, the primary variable determining social class is occupation. To some degree, consumers in the same social class exhibit similar purchasing behavior. So these are the uh, societal factors. We have culture, subcultures, family, reference groups, and social class that affect or influence a person's purchasing behavior. Now, we will discuss low involvement versus high involvement buying decisions and the consumer's decision making. For the level of involvement, it reflects how personally important or interested you are in consuming a product and how much information you need to make decisions. For low involvement decisions, typically products that are relatively inexpensive and pose a low risk to the buyer if she makes a mistake by purchasing them. Also, we have high involvement decisions, and these decisions carry a higher risk to buyers if they fail and are complex or and have higher price tags. So we have here an example. So we have here repeated purchase and infrequent purchase. For infrequent purchase, these are the high involvement buying decisions. And we have also here low involvement buying decisions. So for the repeated purchase, for high involvement is such as vitamins and health supplements. So this is a daily need and it is a high involvement buying decisions because vitamins and health supplements cost a lot. We also have some apparel items, dental and medical care, telecommunications provider, and business travel. For low involvement buying decision, but with repetitive purchase, we have some magazines, food, soft drinks, chewing gum, public transports, and some commodities such as groceries. So this is a low involvement buying decision, but we purchase it in our daily lives because we need it. For infrequent purchase, which involves high involvement buying decision, we have cars, outfit for special occasion, holidays, investment choices, and high ticket household furniture. We don't buy this every day and we don't need this every day. So it is an infrequent purchase, but it involves high involvement buying decision because they have higher price tags. We also have infrequent purchase, but it is in the low involvement buying decision. These are car batteries, garden products, mechanical cleaning products, powerboard extension cords, replacement of small household appliance. So this is an infrequent purchase. Usually we just buy it if those products are not working already, but they are in the low involvement buying decision since we use this daily also in our daily lives. So for this one, we also have stages in the buying process. We have the need of recognition. So recognizing a need may involve something as simple as running out of bread or milk or realizing that you must get a new backpack or a car after a quiet wait. Marketers try to show consumers how their products and services add value and help satisfy needs or wants. So need recognition is just simply by by recognizing what you need to buy for your daily life. So we also have here the second one. The second stage is the information search or the search for information. So for products such as milk and bread, you may simply recognize the need, go to the store and buy more because you need it. However, if you are purchasing a car for the first time or need a particular type of backpack, you may need to get information on different alternatives. So you're going to do a research and you're going to compare and what are the differences, what are the disadvantage and advantage of purchasing this particular type of product that you need. And the next stage is product evaluation. So for this one, we will evaluate criteria and the certain characteristics that are important to you, such as the price of this certain product, the size, the number of what are the advantages of buying this product, and some of these characteristics are more important than others. So you must decide what criteria are most important and how well different alternatives meet the criteria. The last stage that we have is the product choice and purchase. Upon evaluating, researching, and recognizing your need, you will now purchase this particular product. With low involvement purchases, consumers may go from recognizing a need to purchasing the product. However, for backpacks and cars, you decide which one to purchase after you have evaluated different alternatives. In addition to which backpack or which car, you are probably also making other decisions at this stage, including where or how to purchase the backpack or car and on what terms. Maybe the backpack was cheaper at one store for another, so you'll go to the store that has the cheaper price, but the salesperson there was rude. So or maybe you decide to order online because you're too busy to go to. So for this stage, we have the post purchase, use, and evaluation, and the disposal of product. Typically, for post purchase use of evaluation, at this point in the process, you decide whether the product you purchase is everything is needed. Hopefully it is. If it's not, you're likely to suffer what's called a post-purchase dissonance. So you might call it as the buyer's remorse. Typically, dissonance occurs when a product or service does not meet your expectations. Consumers are more likely to experience dissonance with products that are relatively expensive and that are purchased infrequently. And then if you experience this dissonance, the next stage is the disposal of product. So there was this time whether when neither manufacturers nor consumers thought much about how products got disposed of, so long as people bought them, but that's changed. How products are being disposed of is becoming extremely important to consumers and society in general. So we have examples such as computers and batteries, which leach chemicals into landfills, and it is a huge problem nowadays. Consumers don't want to degrade the environment if they don't have to, and the companies are becoming more aware of this fact. Now we have the B2B or the business buying behaviors. We have B2B and B2C. So what's the difference between the business to consumer market versus the business to business market? Business to business market differ from business to consumer market in many ways. There are more transactions in business to business markets and more high peso transaction because business products are often costly and complex. There are also fewer buyers in B2B markets, but they spend much more than the typical customer does and have more rigid product standards. The demand for B2B products, even though they don't sell their products to consumers like you and me, B2B sellers carefully watch general economic conditions to anticipate consumer buying patterns. The firms do so because the demand for business products is based on derived demand. Do we have here derived demand? What is the meaning of it? Derived demand is demand that springs from or is derived from a source other than the primary buyer of a product. When it comes to B2B sales, the source is consumers. If consumers aren't demanding the products produced by businesses, so the firms that supply the products to these businesses are in big trouble. Also, we have fluctuating demand, and it is another characteristic of B2B markets. It is a small change in demand by consumers and can have a big effect throughout the chain of businesses that supply all the goods and services that produce it. So for B2B or business to business market, we have types of B2B buyers. This is the producers, and the producers are companies that purchase goods and services that they transform into other products. They include both manufacturers and service providers. We also have resellers, and these are companies that sell goods and services produced by other firms without materially changing them. They include wholesalers, brokers, and retailers. Another type of B2B buyer is the government, and business to government or B2G markets, or when companies sell to local, state, and federal governments, represent a major selling opportunity even for smaller sellers. In fact, many government entities specify that their agencies must award a certain amount of business to small business, minority and women-owned business, and businesses owned by disabled veterans. And another type of B2B buyer is institution. Institutional markets include nonprofit organizations such as Red Cross, churches, hospitals, charitable organizations, private colleges, civic clubs, and so on. Like government and for-profit organizations, they buy a huge quantity of products and services. So holding costs down is especially important to them. The lower their costs are, the more people they can provide their services to. Now we have discussed the B2B market. Now, what is a buying center? Buying center are groups of people within organizations who make purchasing decisions. The buying centers of large organizations employ professional buyers who, in a sense, shop for living. Usually, they don't make all the buying decisions in your companies, though. And the other people who provide input are users, or the people and the group within the organization that actually use the product are influencers or people who may or may not use the product but have experience or expertise that can help improve the buying decision. Also, gatekeepers or people who will decide if and when a seller gets access to members of the buying center. And also for this buying center, we have the deciders. And these deciders are the people who make the final purchasing decision. So we have here for the buying center, we have players, and these players are the purchasing agents, and they don't make all the buying decisions in their companies, though. As we explained, other people in the organization often have a say as well, they should. Purchasing agents frequently need their feedback and help to buy the best products and choose the best vendors. The people who provide their firm's buyers will input generally fall into one or more following groups. We have the initiator, we have the user, we have the influencer, gatekeepers, and deciders. So the duties of professional buyers is considering the availability of products, the reliability of products vendors, and the technical support they can provide. They also study the company sales records and inventory levels. They also identify the suppliers and obtaining bids from them. And not only that, they also negotiate price, delivery dates, and payment terms for goods and services. They 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 wanted to stay informed of the latest trends so as to anticipate consumer buying patterns, and they determine the media such as the TV, the internet, newspapers, and so forth in which advertisements will be placed. Also, they track advertisements in newspapers and other media to check their competitors' sales activities. So we have here the initiator. For the initiator, these are the people within the organization who first see the need of product. For the user, these are the people and groups within the organization that actually use the product. Influencer is the people who may or may not use the product but have expertise or experience that can help improve the buying decision. The gatekeeper is the one that decide if and when you get access to members of the buying center. And last is the decider, and the decider is the person who makes the final purchasing decision. Usually, the decider might or might not be the purchasing manager. Purchasing managers are generally solely responsible for deciding upon routine purchases and small purchases. For this one, we have interpersonal and personal dynamics of B2B marketing or business to business marketing. So what is interpersonal dynamics? For interpersonal dynamics between the people in a buying center will affect the choices that the center makes. Interpersonal factors among people make buying decision often have an impact on the products chosen, may it be good or bad. We have an example. One person in a buying unit might wield a lot of power and greatly influence the purchasing decision. However, other people in the unit might resent the power he or she wields and insist on a different offering, even if it doesn't best meet the organization needs. So this is the interpersonal dynamics. For the personal dynamics, these are personal factors such as how likable a seller is play a part because buyers are often overwhelmed with information, and you will find ways to simplify their decision making. For this B2B buying process, we also have stages. First, we have the problem recognition, where a need is recognized. So someone recognizes the organization and the need can be solved by purchasing a good or service. Also, the second one is the need description, where the need is described or quantified. The third one is potential suppliers are search for our product specification. For product specification, we will search what needs the consumer wants, what are the features it should have, how much of it is needed, and what we describe what they believe is needed. We also have supplier search, and for the supply search, qualified suppliers are asked to complete responses to requests for proposal. Now, this is the proposal solicitation, in which each vendor that makes the cut is sent a request for proposal, or RFP, which is an invitation to submit a bid to supply the good or service. An RFP outlines what the vendor is able to offer in terms of its product, such as its quality, price, financing, delivery, after sales service, whether it can be customized or returned, and even the product's disposal in some cases. Now, since the proposals are evaluated and the RFPs are best evaluated, we will have the supplier selection. Upon selecting the supplier, we will have the order routine, and for this order routine specification, the order routine will be established. And in this stage, this is the stage in which the actual order is put together. The order includes the agreed upon price, quantities, and expected time of delivery, return policies, warranties, and any other terms of negotiation. The order can be made on paper, online, or sent electronically from the buyer's computer system to the sellers. It can also be a one-time order or consist of multiple orders that are made periodically as company needs a good or a service. Some buyers order products continuously by having their vendors electronically monitor their inventory for them and ship replacement items as buyer needs them. And after the last stage that we have is the performance review, or the a post-purchase evaluation is conducted and the feedback provided to the vendor. So just as consumers go through an evaluation period after we purchase goods and services, so do businesses. Usually, the buying unit might survey users of the product to see how satisfied they were with. So these are the stages of organizational buying in the B2B buying process. Now, we also have B2B buying situations. We have the straight rebuy, we have the modified rebuy, and we have the new buy. For straight rebuy, it is a situation in which a purchaser buys the same product in the same quantities from the same vendor. Nothing changes, in other words. So, post-purchase evaluations are often skipped unless the buyer notices an unexpected change in the offering, such as deterioration of its quality or delivery time. You also have the modified rebuy, and it occurs when a company wants to buy the same type of product it has in the past but make some modifications to it. Usually, maybe the buyer wants different quantities, packaging, or delivery, or the product customized slightly differently. And another type of B2B buying situation is a new buy. This occurs when a firm purchases a product for the first time. Generally speaking, all the buying stages we described in the last section occur. New buys are the most time consuming for both the purchasing firm and the firm selling to them. Why? Because if the product is complex, many vendors and products will be considered, and many RFPs, or what we call again the request for proposal, will be solicited once again. So we also have some ethics in the B2B markets, and ethics comes into play in almost all businesses settings. B2B markets are no different, and companies are also adopting ethic codes that provide general guidelines about how their employees should behave, require their employees to go through ethics training, and hiring chief ethics officers. And for this one, before we end this discussion, on your handouts we have two activities, activity 1 and 2, but I will just only require you to answer activity 2, which is true or false. So write T if the statement is correct, and F is the state if the statement is incorrect. So it is total of 10 items. So once again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. You may reach me personally through Facebook Messenger, or you may ask me directly at school. For this week, we have references. So we have Principles of Marketing from Mindshapers Co. Inc. from Murala Street, Intramuros, Manila, written by Pedrito Real Pereda, Purisima Pedrielva Pereda, and Dr. Vicente M. Castillo. We also have the same suggested readings, Principles of Marketing from Mindshapers Co. So again, once again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. You may reach me personally through Facebook Messenger, or you may ask me directly at school. So before ending this lesson, we'll have a short review that we had described the factors that influence the buying behavior. So we have 5 factors, which is situational factors, social factors, personal factors, psychological factors, and societal factors. We also understand the stages of buying behavior, and we had discussed how business to business, or B2B, differs from B2C markets. And also we had discussed buying center, the members, and their books. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me. And finally, we will end this lesson. And I would like to say thank you. And I would say that before ending this lesson, I would like to share a Bible verse from the book of Mark, chapter 9, verse 23. Said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. So thank you once again, and God bless everyone.